The Sports Town Podcast.
Kawhi Leonard he had surgery on his knee. It looks like he's going to be out for a while and maybe the beginning of the season. Do you think, and it looks like he's going to opt out to get a bigger contract, and we've seen players do this. Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson did this back in 2019, but they still got massive deals with their teams that they are with. I know a torn ACL and a knee is totally different, but do you think the Clippers will resign Kawhi Leonard to give him that max or that super max?
Without a doubt. I think that situation, they invested into, like, their whole team outlook for the next few years is Kawhi and Paul George. Like, you don't trade Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, all those draft picks and so on to only have these guys for 2 years. That's just a waste. You know what I mean? So I feel like they're on that boat. They're going to rise with the boat, or they're going to sink with that Kawhi and Paul George boat at this point. If Kawhi wants to re-sign there, I'm pretty sure the Clippers are going to be waiting at the door with the pen in hand.
Yeah, I think he likes LA, and I think he likes the situation that he's in right now. And again, I guess the Clippers, before the season this year, they signed Paul George to that massive deal, and Paul George is Kawhi's one of his best friends, and that was one of the big reasons why Kawhi went to the Clippers, because Paul George came. And I think they're going to sign him too. But there is another chance that I could see maybe Kawhi signing another 1 or 2 short-term deal. But now with the injury, I think it's more likely he's going to sign. I think he's eligible for a Supermax, and he's definitely worth that. We all know he's a top 3, top 5 player, and in my opinion, he's one of the best players in the league. But I just think that at this time right now, he's going to sign the deal. Do you think he misses or how long do you think he'll be out for?
Man, with the way these ACL tears are going nowadays, I'd probably say he comes back in the middle of next season with the way the rehab and stuff goes for this, because most guys aren't freak athletes like Adrian Peterson to just come back 6 months later after tearing your ACL and what have you. But I think he probably comes back in the middle of the season, especially because Kawhi in particular is very, very, very protective of his injuries and his body. So I think he probably comes back mid-season. But I wanted to ask you this. Didn't you think it was kind of weird that in the Western Conference Finals, if this was the issue, why didn't they just come out and say it? It was kind of like we kept going from game to game where it was like, oh, well, Kawhi might be back for game 6. Kawhi might be back. It's like, dude, if he has a torn ACL, like, what?
It was weird, but I think the reason why they did that was because they could keep the Suns on their toes. And I think the Suns originally thought Kawhi was done for the rest of the series, or done for the whole series, but I think they still wanted to keep teams guessing. And I don't know if that's allowed in the NBA. I don't think it is. I don't know if they got a fine or not, but I think they just were kind of keeping them on their toes, to be honest with you, just to see, because they would make their game plan would be completely changed. And of course the series was still good. I mean, it went to 6 games. Paul George played great. Now we did have some games, but that's Paul George. But that's kind of the reason why Paul George is a number 2 and not a number 1. Thanks for listening to the Sports Town Podcast, or the STP Pod for short. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and much more. Also, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Sports Town Podcast. If you want to check out more videos of the Sports Town Podcast, click on the right.